All right, I think we're live. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna let it warm up for a few minutes here. Stream sponsored tonight by Pabst Blue Ribbon Tall Boys. Let's see. Butcher, what's up? Good evening. So good to have you on. I appreciate you staying up late past your bedtime to watch me. Hell yeah, Magishu, Mr. Radar, good to see everybody. We're gonna let the stream spin up for a little bit here, and then we're gonna get cracking. So, entertaining thing, I just found out that my soldering iron generates some 60 hertz hum. So that's kind of entertaining. Whenever I touch the iron or anything, I get a little bit of buzz. We're okay though. Not gonna get shocked. Well, the stream will be shockingly entertaining, but you know. I feel like I need to goose my mic just a little bit there. Get some slightly better levels. Who's paging me at work? Yeah, I got that keyboard for $4 at the thrift store. I have a Model M, but the space bar is messed up on it. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it repeats. So I need to kind of wail on it a little bit and see what's going on. Sorry, I'm on call for another hour, so I gotta keep an eye on everything. It's like 12 degrees outside right now. Probably 10 at this point, which sucks. You know what? I'm going to tweak the chat a little bit. It's a little small. That should go a little bit better. Yeah, I went outside a bit ago to go to Harbor Freight, buy some tools, because that's where the savvy tool shopper buys their hand tools, right? And I was sliding all over the place. But I did get to do some sick donuts in the parking lot. I saw like 5 wrecks in the 2 miles between here and there. Dude, there was some Audi, just like a shitty little A4 or something, that was next to me when I was driving back. And, man, he was going for the fucking Group B Rally Gold or something. Like, I was driving probably a little more aggressively than I should have. You know, I had it in 4-wheel, of course. And I was kind of getting on it. And this dude just fucking... Like, he was going into boost and everything. And I'm just like, bro, you're going to turn that thing into, like, telephone pole decoration. But whatever. So, let's see.
The battery pack is getting super hot, especially up by where it says push, like where you push it to disconnect the battery. I'm sure it's okay, but...
Yeah, the scanner's super dead tonight. There's not many people on the repeaters. I think everybody's pretty much struggling with traffic and just trying to get home, which is cool and fine. Get home safely, drive home, and then build electronic kits, which is what we're doing tonight. So last time we just played radio and just kind of got on the air and played around with that. And today we got a little bit of a surprise. We got the hot solder warming up over here. I see my shitty Chinese soldering station. But it's just like, you know, it's a handicap, right? If I can do it with this, I can do it with anything. So, I don't think I need my keyboard for a while. But the problem is that if I put it up here, then I fill the bench with a bunch of crap. We're not going to be able to use it. But you know what? That's okay. Because we're going to do things. So, let's let it go 5 more minutes, get some people. This is our fun for tonight. I got this from Schrodinger's Cat 5. Gosh, over a year ago at this point. I've been waiting for the right opportunity to build it up. And that night is here. Just tall boys, 24s. But yes, tonight's stream sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon. I wish I could get a PBR sponsorship. That'd be sick. It's a little bit easier to see me this time. I went ahead and invested. You can see it up here. That's my new light. It's very nice. LED 2-color temp, and you can fade between the two. It's like 3300 and 4700 or something like that. Adjustable intensity, and it uses little camera batteries, so you can just snap them on and swap them out. So I fully charged it up, and we're going to see how it works. I ordered 2, but for some reason Amazon, in their infinite wisdom, only sent me 1. So I got 1 for now, and so far I really, really like it. So I'm going to go ahead and order probably 1, maybe 2 more. They're not bad. They're like $35 a piece, something like that. Well worth the money. I'm very, very happy with what they gave me for $35 for this. And you can see me a lot better. And yeah, if you notice behind me, the horrible picture window of death has now been screened out. I went to what's that place? Michael's, the not weirdo crazy Christian craft store, and bought just some sheets of that. It's like plasticized cardboard. It's like what you'd make like a triptych for your science fair on. Bought some thanks Cat 5. Bought some sheets of that and gaffer taped it together to make a shield. Of course, it's dark out now. It really, really helps during the daytime. So hopefully the Saturday afternoon streams. Sometimes the glare of the sun was causing my face cam to freak out and like do the brightness reset thing and all that. So hopefully that should behave a little more consistently. And you can also see my beautiful face more. So, I think 10 people is enough to get going here. Let's fire it up. So, welcome everybody to the Mattyzcast. Tonight we are doing the first episode of the other half of this stream. Of course, we always play radio. We got all these gadgets and gizmos up here. But sometimes it's fun to actually build things and DIY them. So today, let's get a nice little zoom out here. We're building a kit that was purchased by a loyal friend and follower. And this is the Tecsun 2P3 radio kit. I've gone through this, but I reboxed it so we can do a little bit of live unboxing, which is always fun. So let's go ahead and crack it open, and we will take a look and see what is inside. Oh, I took the manual out too. And I'm really, really impressed with what I've seen of this kit so far. It appears to be very thoughtfully made. The first thing you get is a little shipping box. So you can gift this to somebody. It's the exact size of the radio and has a little stuff like that on it. Very sweet. So very excited about that. One thing we've kind of bounced around doing on the stream is I'll build kits and I'll build circuits and gadgets and stuff. And then we'll do follower and eventually subscriber giveaways to where you will have the exact kit that I built on stream to put on your shelf or even better use in your everyday life. And you'll have video documentation. Not many people can say that they have a 2-hour video of the radio that they're listening to being built. So that's one thing that I'd like to try to do. I think it'd be really fun. So we're going to take the little shipping box and we're going to put it on the side here. And then we're going to get into the actual guts of this. Everything's in a nice little plastic container there. Save that box. So here's what we got. We got the case, we got the printed circuit board, all the components all bagged up and nice. Battery holder. I'm gonna have to go find my double A's before too long, but that's okay. So let's go ahead. And where the heck did I put my knife? 93 tools and I don't have a pocket knife. We're also sponsored by Columbia River Knife and Tool. Pretty good knives for the price. Awesome. Let's see what we got here. Of course, we gotta go for the biggest thing first. Very nice little case. Isn't that cute? I'm loving it. I'm already loving it. The speaker in there. I'm sure we screw that down shortly. Oh, they make you solder the wires on the speaker and everything. It's pro style. Alright. So that's our case. ASMR. And this is going to be our main circuit board that we're going to solder stuff into. Appears to be very sanely designed, properly tinned, so it's easy to solder to. Looks good. And then if you've ever cracked an AM radio, you know what this is. This is the ferrite antenna that's inside. And this is actually... Do I not have the camera up? Okay, there we go. There's the board. There's a lot of pads. We're going to be doing a lot of soldering. I like the 2P3 on the silk screen there. And then this is going to be our antenna that we're looking at. This is a lot larger than what's in a lot of radios. And your size of your antenna kind of determines the performance. One interesting thing about this is that this is not a crappy radio. From everything I've heard, this is an actual relatively high performance little AM radio. Screws, standoffs, nuts. Very good. Tuning knob assembly. The old school multiply by 1000 for your kilohertz, or by 100, I guess. I'll pull my camera back. It's having some focus problems. It doesn't like all this moving around with the stuff like that. It's one thing that I found is kind of annoying with the Logitech is that it tries really hard to autofocus. Volume knob. No like rough edges on this or anything like that. Everything's like nicely molded. And let's see. I do not know what this is. I know what this is. This is going to be the little clip that we screw to the board. And that's what holds the antenna. Very clever design there. Resistors and what appears to be a spare IF transformer housing. I'm not quite sure why that's in there. We might find out though. Yeah, this radio works on 2 AA's. Here's all our capacitors. Pretty straightforward. There's only, I think 4 or 5 ceramic caps, which are the little tiny tan things in there. Those are a little more delicate. The electrolytics are much tougher. You generally see the electrolytics, the big can looking ones, in power supply circuitry, stuff like that. They're really good at that. More resistors, very good. Couple of transistors. You remember to push it up a little more. A wire jumper. Eek. What's that for? One thing before I proceed too much longer. See if I can find my DMM so I can ohm out these resistors. May look for that in a little bit. We don't need it yet. And then, yeah, the fun thing is, if you can hear the little humming, turns out that my soldering iron generates a little 60 hertz hum, and it's just coupling to the mic through my head. So, like, yeah, whenever I touch it, it either goes away or gets louder. A little bit of studio improvement needed. But yeah, that's a variable capacitor. That's the tuning control for the radio. Most important part of the AM radio, I'd say. And this is going to be our volume knob, I do believe. Nice little unit. Come in a little bit that way. Again, every part on here seems like well made and good. Get a headphone jack. If you want to plug in headphones, awesome. This thing probably sounds pretty good on headphones. Get that out of there. There we go. So this is the IC that's used for the audio amplifier. This takes the little flea-powered signals and make some speaker volume or headphone volume. And yeah, this is just an AM radio. Figured we'd start simple. They actually do have an FM radio kit. It seems to be a little less polished than this. But if this is successful and everybody has fun, we're going to go for that one too. So these are what are called IF transformers. These are transformers that are made to be resonant at a certain frequency, which means that they will effectively pass signals in a certain frequency range and attenuate all the others. So these are very important parts. And they're basically used to link the signal from one stage to another as it passes through the radio. And they have different colors. It's kind of hard to see, but one's yellow, one's kind of gray. And then this one's red. I'll use this. I already know what this is. Well, I'm going to figure out what the heck this is. Okay, so this is a little plastic emblem of a little rising sun. Oh, I see what it is. There's a little bit of 3M double stick tape there. That's the final step. You put the little badge on. That's amazing. I love it. But yeah, it's a little rising sun, and then oh shit. On the back, it's really hard to see, but that's a rifle. That's some sort of gun with like a oh, this is communist as hell. I am already way more excited now. All right, we're gonna put the gun side on this facing out when we finish the build. That's so cool. And then this is a non-conductive screwdriver. Why do you want a non-conductive screwdriver? Because when you're adjusting these little coils, you want something that's not metal, because anything that's metal will throw them off frequency while you're tweaking it. So that's why they add that. The fact that they include this is really nice, because if you need one and you don't have it, it's horribly frustrating. I've like whittled down chopsticks before and done all sorts of just wild, weird things to try to get that running. So now that we have all our parts, I'll set the packaging aside and we'll go to what I think might be the most impressive part of this kit is the manual. Go through this a little bit. Paraphrasing, in the 60s, transistors became cheap. There were a huge wave of DIY transistor radios in China. So they built this case in this style. So this is kind of historically accurate for everybody to put their radios into. You can build a circuit board, just whatever, you know, in your like farm or whatever. But this was what turned it from just a circuit board with a bunch of parts into a finished radio that you, as a member of the Great People's Revolution, could be proud of. So the case is delicate and exquisite. Once in the market, it is warmly welcomed. I love the translation of this. Many people saved money to get one case and made many different versions of the radios, ranging from a 1-transistor regenerative AM radio to a 6-transistor super heterodyne AM radio, and fulfilled their dreams of assembling a DIY radio with a beautiful machine-made case. Really excited about that industrialization and all that. There were people that bought the case but couldn't get the parts, unable to finish their project. Half a century went on. This is a very old design. This is like probably immediately post-war. Well, yeah, it's about right. I don't know, 60s? Transistors came out in like 63, 64, I want to say. So that's about accurate. So yeah, long story short is that if you're familiar with the flying pigeon Chinese bicycle, the standard model bicycle in China, this is the radio equivalent of that. I want to say that it's estimated that over 500 million of these radios were built over the past like 40 or 50 years. So this is kind of a little bit of Chinese history here. It's really cool. So I'm excited. And I hope that you know, if some Chinese peasants can build this thing, by God, I better be able to. Oh, I will totally build a standard Chinese bicycle. Let's get some like flying pigeon build specs. Some very nice pictures of what it's supposed to look like when it's done. And yeah, that's the little decal you can put on there. But this manual is just amazing because it's this huge fold out, and that actually may be just a little annoying on the build because I can only zoom out so much. But just like to give you an idea on the main camera, like I give you all kinds of notes. It's very nice, and it's definitely meant to give like a introduction to electronics. You got your bill of sale there, or bill of materials, all the parts you should have, which is really nice. They say check and see, but I'm gonna trust them, and hopefully all the parts are there. If not, I've got a junk box and we can piece things together. A full explanation of what the circuit is supposed to do, which is super cool. Explains all the different parts of it. You can see down here, you got a block diagram of all the stuff, which is super great. It kind of shows how these things are just built up out of building blocks, and if you know what you're doing, you can piece them together, do all sorts of amazing things. And then all your schematic terms, how to calibrate it, all kinds of good stuff. This is not a step-by-step thing. I'm going to try to fold this up a little bit here. And it's like 60-pound paper on that too. Really, really nice. Explanations of the pinouts on the various integrated circuits and transistors. Yeah, this is the opposite of an Apple product. This is like, yeah. This is meant to teach and meant for you to fix the problems that you cause by yourself. So it'll be entertaining for sure. So let's see here. They say to basically build this backwards, to build the audio amplifier last, and then go towards the antenna from there. So, sadly, this is not online. I really should have scanned this in so I could throw it up on the screen. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So let me see where we're supposed to start. I'm thinking I just feel bad folding it back like that, but thinking that this is probably going to be a fairly good way to get most of the parts on, building from the layout diagram here that has all the stuff. Hang on, I'm going to fix this camera and stop it from autofocusing. See if I can do that. See if I'm enough of a computer master. I'll just leave my focus window up in case we need to tweak it. So what I'm thinking is, I'm going to pull up a resistor color code chart because there is one included, but I don't want to refold this thing a whole lot, so bear with me. And hell no, I don't have that memorized. I do periodically and then I forget it. Cool, that works. Awesome. All right, so where do we start? I think I'm going to start by getting the volume control on. And what's neat about this is it sits up at a right angle to the board. Pull this in tighter so you can see more how I'm seeing. It's a little more in my face, but that's okay. So what we're supposed to do actually, this part of the board is meant to snap off. Just like that. And then see right here, they got a nice diagram to insert it. All right, groovy. So then what we're gonna do is solder that up. Yeah, I know, I was like, is that gonna split in half? But no, they know what they're doing. And yeah, you'll be able to hear a little bit of additional hum when I'm touching my iron because evidently this is squirting out some 60 hertz. Let me just take this, quick solder. Probably should have soldered it when it was still attached and then snapped it off, but that's okay. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I bought one today at Horror Fright. Good clean solder. And how this works. There we go. That's what it's supposed to be like. Slide it in from the back and it gets locked in there nicely. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Instructions. Okay, I kind of would like a stapled manual here. From the component side into the slot. Okay, we're good. Solder the switch pins and connection points. And then, yeah. This way here. That's so noisy. Sorry if I end up going Bob Ross and getting all whispery. Been watching a lot of Bob Ross lately. He was so good. Too good for this world. Boom, got it. Alright, we got a volume control here. Very cool. Let's see, what did they say do next? Take a look here and see. Generally, you want to install the smallest parts first. Of course, this diagram is done with it flipped. Come on, Harbor Freight. Don't fail me now. Of course, there's a Bob Ross emote. That was actually a big thing a few years back. They aired some Bob Ross on Twitch. I believe when IRL became a real boy. And they got like 5 million viewers or something like that. So now every year, October 29th, his birthday, Twitch streams a season of Bob Ross. Kind of looking through all the different parts here. Okay. Nice. We have capacitors. Okay, so these are polyester capacitors. Non-polarized, so it doesn't matter which way you put them in. These are electrolytic capacitors. And it does matter what way you put these in. Pull focus just a bit. Hey, that's better. Nice. So you see there's a little negative stripe on these caps. And that has to go to whatever side of the circuit is generally more negative. Of course, when you're dealing with AC, like audio or noisy power supply stuff, the polarity will very frequently reverse, as that's kind of the point of AC. But generally what you want is to avoid a bunch of reverse bias on these, because they'll eventually smoke out. So this is 470 UF, that's like a power supply thingamabob. Actually, all of these are going to be power supply caps for delivering clean power to various parts of the circuit. 10 UF. $100 UF. Okay. Another 100. A lot of times you can use relatively standardized values. These aren't very first of all, they have really high tolerance from the factory. Like 100 UF can be 80 or it could be 130. But the nature of what they do in the circuit kind of leads you to a little bit of wiggle room on stuff. That's a 203 ceramic capacitor. These are what you want to use to like couple parts of circuits together and just pass radio signals. Or make a little oscillator, something that goes back and forth, I don't know, a million times a second. We're going to see frequencies around there, about a megahertz or so on this, due to the AM broadcast band. I want to say, yeah, only one of these is unique. All the others are the same. Cool. And then this little guy, this is really cool. This is a ceramic filter. I see the 455 on there. So this is going to be used to couple your radio signal from kind of earlier on in the circuit. So how these are going to work, kind of oversimplifying, but you have a signal coming in from the antenna, ferrite rod here, and you have an oscillator on board, just a circuit that makes an AC signal at a variable frequency, and that's controlled by the variable capacitor, aka the tuning knob. And how this works is there are certain types of circuits called mixers, and they're pretty simple. This has a mixer on it, and the incoming radio signal is mixed with your local oscillator, they call it. And what happens is that they're not just superimposed. You get both signals out, yes, but you also get a sum and a difference signal. So you get, in this case, say your oscillator is at 1 megahertz and you want to listen to a station at, say, 1455. You take those two signals, the local oscillator and then the antenna signal, you mix them together in the mixing circuit, and you'll get a sum, which will be 2.455, and then you'll get a difference signal, which will be exactly 455 kilohertz. The rest of the radio is only sensitive to 455 kilohertz signals. This is how pretty much every radio built from like the 40s through the 2000s works. It's called a super heterodyne circuit. So you get a sum and a difference signal, and you filter out the signal you don't want. And because you have that local oscillator that you can change the frequency on with the tuning knob, whatever radio signal mixes best with that and comes out to where the math is exactly 450 kilohertz is the only signal that will pass through this little filter. And this is literally a tiny piece of ceramic that is resonant, like physically resonant at 455 kilohertz. And that's what's called the intermediate frequency, or the IF. Radios use different IFs. The vast majority of AM radios have used 455 kc. And I say kc, that's kilocycles. It's pretty interchangeable with kilohertz. It's just old man speak, basically. So we use 455 kilohertz, and that way we can tune the rest of the radio to be sensitive to only one particular frequency, rather than trying to have it chase signals all over. That way the only, say, frequency agile part of the radio, I guess you might say, is on the very front end, where you have that variable tuning control, and then magic math happens, and whatever you want to listen to comes out at 455 kilohertz. You amplify that a little bit, make it a little louder, stronger, and then you pick the audio off of it and shove it out into the speaker. And that's it. That's a radio. So now that we have gone over the big parts of that, I'm going to double check my solder joints here. I screwed up. I didn't screw up, but I neglected to solder the actual volume pads there. those 3 in the middle there. I gotta hit those real quick. I'm not used to these helping hands. I'm used to just slopping shit all over my bench and just kind of holding it with my finger while I solder. Actually, having tools is fun and strange. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now volume control and power switch are wired up. So, oh yeah, and what's cool with this is they have extra holes punched all over that are not going to be used, but part of the point of the 2P3 is that you can hack on it, and you can do weird stuff with it. Add circuits of your own. So that's why that's in there. It's just breadboard space, basically. So I'm going to take a look here and get my docks up without lighting them on fire. Cheap Harbor Freight clippers, don't care. It'll do it. It'll do the job. So let's see. Actually, since these are different values, I do need both panels up, so that's not going to work. Ceramic capacitor. Let's start with C1. Where is C1? I'm looking for it. There it is. Right there. So this is going to be a 203 cap. I don't even know if you can see that. That is a 203. So we take it and we pop it in the holes for C1. There's no need to like slam these down to the board all the way. You can if you want, but sometimes it's better if there's just a little bit of room. Just take it, bend the leads out so it doesn't fall out. We'll play with this focus all night, I can tell. Pretty decent. C1 is in. Clean joints, looks good. Nip the ends off. Alright, point of no return. We got a capacitor, and yeah, that's a nice height right there. There's a little bit of lead length in case we screw up and need to resolder it. It's not slammed down on the board. That also gives a little bit of heat sinking. Just a little bit of heat dissipation between the soldering iron and the capacitor, because you can cook them out pretty good. Let's see, next is going to be C5. Where is C5? There it is. Double check, because one of these is not a 203. Okay, that's good. I think I'm going to skip the helping hands for the time being. I'm not quite used to it, and now is probably not the best time to get back into the swing of using it. Part is secure. Kind of missed it on one of those leads. Needs a little bit more solder. Problem's not getting it on the wire, it's getting it on the pad. That looks good. Groovy. I don't know if we're going to get this in a couple hours tonight, but we'll do as much as we can tonight. C6. Where's C6? C6. There it is, right down there. And this is another 203. Super cool. C7. Alright, let's see where C7 is. I'm finding it easier to build this up by just tearing through the line items on the bill of materials rather than building circuits one at a time. So we're going to throw all the parts in and go there. C7 is right next to it. Also a 203. That is a 203. And if you're wondering how the 203 comes out, it's you get two significant digits, and then you get basically a multiplier. It's kind of like resistor code. So a 203 is going to be 20,000 picofarads, or 20 nanofarads. It's a relatively large value ceramic cap. There is one in here that's 3 picofarads, 3 billionths of a farad. A farad is actually an enormous amount of capacitance. Like those big caps for car stereos, those are about a farad. They store an enormous amount of energy. C15 is going to be the last one on this line. Let's see where you go. Right down there. Nice and easy. That's a 203. And that's the 3 picofarad one. That's the odd one out. We'll do him next. C15 goes on the board. Get our hot solder. I'm actually using a terrible tip for this, but it's because I realized that I was down to my last soldering iron tip. So that's why I got that huge ass chisel tip on there. Can make it kind of tough to do here. And then C3 is going to be this little weird one. Let's get it out of the way. Where's C3? I'm going to guess it's going to be right up here. Yep. Very, very small value. Solder stuck to the pad there, never good. Cool. All of our ceramic capacitors are installed. Starting to look like a circuit a little bit. Bobby, you mean like, are they chosen by their packaging or by their value? The value is most important, which you have to make sure that the packaging is appropriate. So we have a couple of polyester capacitors here, only 2 of them. These are generally higher quality than ceramics. So what's interesting is that somebody cracked open a ceramic cap the other day, and they found that the manufacturer actually took a surface mount cap and just soldered wires to it and dipped it in the goop. So I'm suspecting that a lot of capacitors sold today are actually surface mount as made from the factory, and then they just solder wires on and dip them in a little epoxy, and boom, there's your through-hole ceramic cap. All right. C2 is a 223. Not that one. Sorry, my eyes aren't that good. Yeah. 2A223J. Yeah, it's not going to focus on that. But anyways, this is C2. Pop it in there. Bend the leads to hold it in place and solder it up. Come on. It's kind of a weird angle. Cool. Very nice. Hang on, I'm playing with the camera. Just 1 second. I think it's about as good as we're going to get. The mark of an active bench is having 9 million little snipped leads from through-hole parts. What's interesting is these are actually steel. These are tinned steel. They're not copper wires. And people are like, well, doesn't steel have like terrible conductivity? Yes, but it doesn't matter in this situation. Burge, good evening. Nice of you to join us. Welcome. We're slinging hot solder here. We're building this little radio. And let's do the other polyester, which is, it's going to say 152 on it. Yep. And that is going to be C9. Let's see if we can find where C9 is on the board. Just kind of look around. Where it is, kind of hard to spy. Oh, cheat. Look at the paper diagram here. C9, over on this side. And we bend the leads out a little bit. Groovy. So all of our non-polarized capacitors are now installed. And they're slightly easier than the other ones because they are non-polarized. You don't care about what way they go in. And I'm going to check here because see on here all the round circles with the half of it kind of whited out. That's a symbol that an electrolytic capacitor goes there. But not everybody marks it the same way, meaning that sometimes the white spot is the negative terminal, and sometimes it's the positive. So I want to see if they did mention exactly which way the orientation is. Okay. So the negative side goes to whatever's hashed out. I believe. Yes. Okay. So let's start installing some electrolytic caps. And let's just see what we got here. This is a 220. This is a 220 microfarad, which means that it's 10,000 times larger in value than those little ceramic caps we were installing earlier. This is, there's only one 220 and it's C12. It's kind of easier to install these because the pads are a lot larger. It's easier to pick out, hey, this spot takes a electrolytic cap, and then you can kind of suss out which one is which. Super cool. Electrolytics are pretty interesting. The way that they can get such a huge value is because capacitor's value is determined assuming that whatever dielectric between the two plates, because a capacitor is two metallic things very close but not touching, and you develop an electric charge across them, and the value of the capacitor is, all other things being equal, surface area times the inverse of the spacing between the elements. The closer the elements are, the more capacitance there is. The more those electrons want to jump that gap, so you can charge it up and actually store electricity in it, because they want to hop over to the other side, because they see in their little electron minds that there's less charge on the other side, and electric charge always wants to equalize. So that's how you can store energy in these. And electrolytic caps are interesting because there's like a little foil winding in there, but it's acted upon by the electrolyte, which is literally a chemical that fills these up and then acts as one terminal, and then the foil actually oxidizes and creates a very thin film on the surface of the foil, and that's the dielectric. That's what keeps it from just being a short circuit. This is a 1UF and it's C8. Nice and easy right there. So, electrolytics, they're not very high performance for various definitions of that. They kind of weak signal, They're not super good at like cleaning up audio and stuff like that. But one thing they're good at is, electrically speaking, being super chunky boys with lots of value. And that's why you can use one to regulate or like smooth out the power, like a power supply circuit. You get AC out of your wall, you put it through a transformer, and you put it through some diodes, but it's still like a bumpy signal with a lot of variation. Then you put capacitors on the outlet of that, and they smooth out the power. They absorb power when the voltage comes up, coming in from the power supply circuitry input. And then during the low points in the AC cycle, they will provide electricity. So they basically smooth things out. Here's a 470. That's a big old boy. C13. That's easy to spy because that's a real big part. Just bend the leads out. Zip some of that hot molten lead on. Groovy. Always just give it a little wiggle, make sure it's locked down. Snip the wires off. Saw a really nice setup once where a dude had some little diagonal cutters like this. But, oh, thank you for that. I'll make sure to... Here, let's see. That should be a lot better. It's like right in my face, but that's okay. Here. Let's see if we can do that. That might be better. He had some diagonal cutters with a little magnet on. As soon as he snipped the lead off, it captured it. Let's see what we got here. 100 microfarads. Oh, we got a bunch of these. Let's start with C10. This is right next door to our last buddy. We're starting to pack them in there a little bit. Yeah, my one problem right now is that I am kind of nearsighted. My glasses are like 6 years old. So I am getting just a bit of eye strain because I got it down on the table. Normally I would be all up in its grill, but that's not very photogenic. I gotta remind myself to look at chat more. Alright, so far we have no solder bridges. Everything's soldered that should be, nothing soldered that shouldn't be. It's another 100 UF. And next on the list is C11. Where is it? Right up here. Squeeze it in there. They really stacked them up there. It's okay though. Oh, that is the best smell in the world to me. People are all, get a fume hood, get an extractor. I say, why deny myself one of the best sensory pleasures of soldering? And there are many other things that'll give me cancer way before a little bit of lead fumes do. C14. I bet this is another 100. Yep. Just find C14, nice and easy. Nice little pile stacking up there. That's a 10. But this is our final 100 UF cap. That's a Fujicon cap. That is high quality. It's not like those shitty things that blew up in all our motherboards 10 years or so ago. C16 is our final one for this value. Solid and good. Looking pretty good so far. It's because, yeah, it's a big ass chisel tip, because I realized like 20 minutes before the stream started that I had lost the rest of my iron tips. So we're operating on challenge mode tonight. You don't really want a point heat source. You want a small but controllable area. Really, the biggest advantage, or the biggest way that you'll be able to solder quickly and effectively, is if you have a little bit of solder on the iron when you touch it to the pad, because that kind of wets between the iron and the pad or the wire, whatever you're soldering. Just a little bit of capillary action, and that conducts way more heat than just putting the dry metal that's hot on the pad. So this is a 10 UF. We only have one of those, and it is C4. Pop it in there. Negative terminal on the little shaded side. I don't like the looks of that. There we go. Looks great. And I believe that's all of our capacitors. Whoop. All right. So I'm going to just go down the list here. The next step is going to be our filter. This is super easy. Pops in there. And one thing that gets difficult as you start to populate a board is that the components are various heights. Some are taller than others. So you have to make sure that your part doesn't fall out. If it's shorter than like the tallest part on the board, when you flip it over, it's going to probably fall out. Of course, that's why we bend the leads a little bit on some of those, but you don't want to bend the leads on a nice device like that filter. That's a nice 20 cent component or so. It's very important. And yeah, tinning the iron. I'll show it here. Just take it. You just get a little bit on there. You wipe off the excess. You don't want too much. This is just literally a sponge that's soaked in water. It doesn't really cool it off much, but it lets you clean the iron off, because once it sits on there for a few seconds, the solder just kind of oxidizes up. Gets nasty, not happy. Alright, cool. We've been going for a little bit. I'm going to take like a 5-minute break because I need to do certain things. So everybody bear with me, and I will be right back. Where the heck's my face camera? I'm not used to this. There it is. Be right back. All right, we're back. And trash and camera on. Where'd you go? There we are. Cracking open a cold one with the boys and girls and whatever gender you choose to be, because it's a construct of society. So next up is going to be a shitload of resistors. Resistors, of course, oppose the flow of electricity. Yeah, we're going with big beers tonight. Large. Mainly because I just had $5 in cash and I was like, get a couple of tall boys. Alright, so picking through our goodies here. Let's see what we got. We're going to pick out the diodes. These are diodes. These allow current to flow only in one direction. Let me adjust my mic. These allow current to flow just in one direction. Very useful little things. The first vacuum tubes were diodes, and extremely useful. Revolutionized the field of electrical engineering, circuit building in general. And pull these two little wires out. These are the wires that hook up the speaker. That'll be way late. And let's see here. So I've got my multimeter because we're going to cheat rather than try to read color codes on resistors. We're going to just use the meter. I thought this had a little stand or something. That glare is kind of killing it. You get the gist of it. Okay. So let's just start going through these, find out what their value is. That is a 9.84K, but we're going to call it a 10K because these do have like 5% tolerance. Not that critical. So let's find a 10K resistor. R9 is the first one here. Let's find R9 on the board. I see him. And this one is mounted where you want the leads like that. It's going to be mounted vertically. It's kind of snuck in there. Resistors are not polarized. You can insert them either way. Oops. Now that actually looks better on camera anyways. Definitely filling up the bench with a lot of wires and stuff around at this point. Got it from this angle. You're being tricky. There we go. You want to get just the right angle. Sometimes it's kind of tough. Yeah, see, I got all kinds of shit on the bench at this point. Started it out perfectly clean. Never ends up that way. Looks good. A little bit more mic there. It's like, I can barely hear myself. I suppose I don't even need headphones tonight because we're not listening to radios, but you know, it's always good to make sure that your mic doesn't cut out or whatever. That's a little sloppy, but it'll work. Alright, good to see you. Thanks, Burge. Have a great night. I don't think we're going to get this done tonight. We may have to wrap it up on Saturday. But we're going to tear through, and we'll probably go till 9 or 9:30 local. And that's 120K. R1. It's a good motorcycle. R1 is right up here. It's mounted vertically. A lot of very repetitive motion in this. Pick up the iron, solder, put it down. Pick up the test leads, put them down. Yeah, see, I didn't have my iron tinned. That's what happens. There we go. Hi, Nargle. She's down by my feet. She wants the attention. Looks good. lot of resistors. Resistors are the most common component. You'll see those more than anything else in a circuit. Many times a circuit is nothing more than a strategically placed resistor. 1.5K. R11. I was wanting to hook up a subwoofer to my stereo. And didn't have a line level subwoofer out. R11. Didn't have a subwoofer out, so I did a little bit of math and just figured out what resistors I would need to use to take the speaker level output and knock it down to an appropriate line level voltage. So off the back of my main stereo right now, I have 2 resistors just soldered up. They're just kind of free flying, and they're on the speaker terminals of the B speakers in my stereo. And then the line out is from the junction between those two and goes to the line in on my subwoofer. And it works perfectly. It's balanced and the sub's not too loud relative to the speakers and all that. That's kind of the neat hacks you can do once you figure out how voltages work and voltage dividers, all that. You can just kind of take various circuits, piece them together, use them as little building blocks. I want to double check this. Okay, we did do that correctly. I was worried because the labeling on that R11 right here, it's kind of ambiguous. I was worried that it was those 2 pins right there, but we did it right. There's supposed to be a little jumper wire there, I think, and actually that's just a circuit board trace, so the jumper's already installed. And next resistor, you want to make sure not to touch both sides, especially with the high value resistors, because if you look, my body has like 6 or 7 megs of resistance, and that'll be paralleled with the resistor that I'm trying to test, and that'll throw off the value that's on the meter. So that's a 220K, almost 219, which is the best resistor value. And we have a 220K in R4. Let's find R4 on here. There it is. And this one is installed like that, horizontally. Pop it in those two. And when you're soldering resistors, sometimes you want to leave a little bit of space, because they are, I mean, all they do is they turn electricity into heat. I'm not too worried about it because this is such a low power circuit. So it's not like we have any little space heater, low value resistors that pass a bunch of current on this. Maybe in the power supply it's a little more significant, but even so, it's not really a big concern here. This is meant to be a pretty forgiving kit. Pretty good. It just has a little bit of DIY flavor. The things aren't installed robotically and perfectly, so things will be a little bit crooked, and that's fine by me. On to the next. Got a little system here. I got my test leads on my lap, and I can just pull them up and see. 18K? Yeah, 18K. That's R5. Let's find R5. I think I saw it earlier. Yep. Sneak it right in between these two here. Oh, that's gross. Bunch of old nasty solder on there. Clean it up. Tin it. Come on. Perfect. All right. Let's see what's next. I'm just grabbing these at random. It's fine. That's obviously a 100K resistor. And wait, let's read that again. It's 100 ohms. It's not 100,000 ohms. Big difference there. We have exactly two of those, R10 and R12. Let's find one of those. I see R10. Sneak it right in there. As you get your rhythm on this, you can kind of go a little bit quicker. But you want to make sure that everything's in the right hole, because it is a big pain in the butt to fix a soldering mistake. Let's solder the other side to lock it down first. Cool. Come on. It's not one to go on the pad there. Patience. You don't want to leave the iron on there for hours and hours. If you fail a particular joint, take it off, let it cool for a sec, and then try again. And there you go. On your second attempt, it'll go through just fine. Snip your leads off. Lost my test leads here. Put them through my belt loop. That way we can't lose them. Oh, I have another diode here that I'm going to pull out and segregate. And that's a 2K resistor. There's only one of those, and it's R6. Let's find R6 on the board. You see it? Let's see. Yep, that's good. And And 51 ohms. Yeah, that's a low value resistor, R7. Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to keep the audio good. So, yeah, my thinking is that even if people don't want to watch, because it is kind of sort of monotonous. Focused is a better term. There's not too much going on screen at any one given moment, but hey, maybe you want to just leave me on background noise and chit chat, and then when something exciting comes up, pop back and see what's going on. And I cannot see R6, so I'm going to go over to my sheet. Because my ancient eyes sometimes do better with that. R6 is right there. Wait, that's not right. R7. It's a good thing I double checked. Okay, I see it. Look twice, solder once. The solder ever gets a little old and you're like, I think I can do one more joint. Stop, clean it off, and give that joint the attention that it deserves. Not a weed joke. Next up we have a 1.8K R2 or R3. There's R2. Imagine having to work in a factory in 1975 and this is your job. Everything was hand soldered then. Robotic assembly didn't really kick off in the electronics arena like 82, 83. Back before then, it was just people with keen eyes and steady hands and a solder station building your stereos and television sets and all that stuff. Computers, hand solder computer. Doesn't sound like fun to me. We're going through the resistors, we're tearing through them. There's another 1.8K. And so we just did R2. Let's look for R3 on the board. There it is. It both gets more difficult and easier as you populate the board. It's harder because you got to kind of fit things in properly rather than just blindly throwing parts on the board. But it also gets easier because there are fewer places to put it. So you narrow down where it's supposed to go. Get my corral of my test leads. I mean, You let me stare at the resistor diagram for a little bit, and yeah, I'll be able to sort through them. There's 100 ohms, but the much faster way just to get your meter out. And R10 or R12. R10 is populated, so we're looking for R12 on here. Where's R12? There it is. This is flat mounted. It's not completely arbitrary decision. This is closer to the speaker, so there might be less space in the radio in this particular little spot. Once it's put together, this might be why they did that. Zoop. You have found your home, R12. Three left. $10K. R9, R13, or R14? I know R9 is filled. There's 13 and 14 right up there, nice and easy. Resistor color code trivia. The most interesting thing is that the color codes are designed so that if a resistor passes too much current and darkens due to heat, kind of smokes out a little bit, when the technician is trying to repair the radio or whatever the heck it is, if it is burned, it is easier to mistake it for a resistor of higher value, which will flow less current, than it is to mistake it for a resistor with lower value. And the radio may not work right, whatever you're working on may not work right, but you're not going to accidentally start a fire because you replaced a 100 ohm resistor with an 80 ohm or whatever. So that's why they're lined up the way they are. It's not just an arbitrary color code. They looked at them and said, well, the yellow is going to turn into an orange, and so on. 2 left. Another 10K. And this will be R14 right next to him. Yeah. Try to remember to sit up more. And bend away. Get my build thing here more stable so it stops sliding down into my lap. It's kind of snuck in there. It took me a couple attempts and I didn't get it. Ready to get a crap load of solder on my iron, and that's no bueno. So let's try it again. There we go, much easier. I'm going to order some new iron tips as soon as we're done with this stream because this is ridiculous. It's rather difficult to get in there with that big chisel tip. And the final resistor. Oh yeah, some people think up some pretty sick shit for the color codes. 150K. R8? R8. That's easy. Bend them up, get our sizzle stick. Sweet. Starting to look like an actual thing a little bit. All right. All of our capacitors are in. Our filter is in. All of our resistors are in. And this is interesting because all three of these transistors, transistor is the building block of modern solid-state electronics, are the same spec. They're all 9018 models. We get to cheat here because see how they're like D-shaped there? We don't really have to find out which pin is which. Whenever I'm building a circuit or like homebrewing something, every single time I have to go pull up the data sheet for it and remember which one's the emitter and the base and the collector. But we get to cheat here. So let's do Q1. This is the first transistor. Let's get it in there. And you definitely want to have these off of the board because these are delicate. Much more delicate than a resistor or cap. So you really want to make sure that you give it a little bit of a buffer zone between the soldering iron and the transistor when you're whaling on it. That looks good. Cool. We're getting into the fancy devices now. Active devices that need electricity to work. The capacitor will do its thing with nothing but natural signal. Same with a resistor. But a transistor, you have to run current through it to do anything. Fancy schmancy. So let's go for the next transistor, which is Q2. You spread the leads just a little bit because the pin spacing is a little bit wider than the default on these. A little bit more. There we go. And again, 3 terminals. 1, 2. Spin it around to do 3. Super cool. And one thing that could possibly speed this up is I could go more assembly line, where I solder in more parts and then go through with the snips and cut off the excess leads. But I'm in no rush. I'm going for a certain amount of minutes streamed per month, so I can possibly hit affiliate. So I'm in no rush. Thank you, PBR. And the third transistor. Let's find it, Q3, there. Bend the leads out a little bit. Just wanted to see if the pliers would do it any more cleanly. Yeah, actually that's less precise than just doing it with my fingers. They're all exactly the same length. Just kind of a pain. Get down in there, Q3. Thank you, sir. One, two, three. This is one of those fluke clone meters that a company got sued over. It's nice. It has an idle timeout. If you don't flip the switch for X period of time, it says, "Hey, you're not doing anything with me. I'm gonna save your battery." Really nice meter. I liberated this from the computer shop when I worked there because nobody there even knew how to use it. I slept just fine having it walk home with me. Let's see here. So now we have two types of diodes that we have to deal with. One of them is a 1N60. I'm really going to have to get in here. You can't even see this on camera. I think that's the 60. Let's take a look at these. Hang on. Seriously, these things are... Okay. That's a 48. That's a 48. And that's a 48. Okay. So... let's get the 1N60 in place, and that is D1. Let's find D1 on the circuit. There she is. Now I'm going to actually refer back because I don't remember which way the line points on diode polarity. It's another one of those things that I have to look up every time. I'm sure you understand. The stripe goes towards the flat line. Okay. So we take this. Diodes are very, very delicate. So I'm going to actually bend the leads up with this, with my pliers, so I give it a little bit of room. Because they are encased in glass. It's a little tiny junction between two different types of semiconductors, and it's encased in glass. You don't want to crack that glass. It may continue to work, or it may die. Cool. Again, the diodes, they are semiconductor devices sensitive to heat. So you want to go very quick with the iron. Don't want to roast those things. Boom. One happy detector diode. That's actually the one part that does most of the magic in this circuit. So you have a signal coming in, it's like 455 kilohertz or whatever. It has an audio signal on top. That's the actual information that's on top of the carrier. And you have to pick that out somehow. One thing that you can do is use a diode to what's called rectify it, and it will pull the audio signal out and basically block the radio signal, which you don't really care about blocking the radio signal, but what you do care about is extracting the audio from that carrier. So now we have 3 diodes down in here. Get it on the screen. There's 3 of them in there, and they're kind of a tight fit. So we're gonna actually install these vertically. Do D2 first. And this pin goes towards the the line. Pop it in like so. Cool. Real quick, if you don't get the joint fast enough, pull it off and try again. Splendid. I believe these 3 diodes are actually part of the mixer circuit, which takes that local oscillator that I was talking about earlier, the one that you can change the frequency of, and mixes it with the incoming radio signal and produces those sum and difference frequencies. I can kind of tell that because they're lined up in opposite directions, and I just know from my experience that when they're configured like that, they're often set up to be a mixer. You can see how those are in like opposite directions. Pull the camera a little bit more there. Let's see what we can do with that. We're getting really snug on this board here. It's getting harder to find a spot to put the iron without melting up another trace, which is not really that big of a deal. It can cause a little bit of mess though. Not enough desk space. I'll tell you what, I may go for a larger table pretty soon if this stream takes off. There we go. Wonderful. One more diode. And I bet that's going to be D3 right there. The stripe will be going down just like so. A lot of just flipping the board upside down and right side up and upside down and right side up. You can get really nice rigs, kind of like the helping hands here, that have the little grabby arms on a pivot, so you can just swivel it 180. Really, really useful for stuff like this. You're just constantly going front, back, front, back. All right. Huzzah. Look at that pile of all the component weeds there. Good times. We're really working here. We're cranking it out. I'm operating at almost 10% of the speed of a 1973 solder tech. What a rock star. I do this stuff slow. So we have got the IC. So this is fun. Yeah, we're actually approaching the end. I didn't think that we'd be able to do this in one night. I think I'm going to marathon, and we're going to go for it. So this is an integrated circuit. Basically, an IC is any package that has more than one transistor. This is an audio amplifier. This is the most modern part of this radio here. They didn't have these in the original 2P3 schematics, in the original designs. So they kind of cheated a little bit with this. but it is such a useful little chip. It can handle a lot more power than a single transistor. It has shorter leads though. You see how I had to kind of go in with the pliers and nip those down so that it didn't fall out, because it's shorter than those capacitors. So let's do this marathon solder up here. What am I doing? What am I doing? Sipping my peeber. By the way, Schrodinger, that light is so good. I'm loving it. It's actually a really good, just a task light. I think I'm gonna just use them for bench lights. All right. Let's just solder up all, 10 pins of this? 1. Come on. Failed on that one. Try again. It's in there tight. Gotta get my iron just the right angle. 2. It's not quite. 3. 4. 5. I said 5. Don't get greedy. Go back and retune your iron. Give it another shot. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. Take a close look at this, make sure I locked everything down. That looks good to me. Yeah, I just bought the cheap camera gooseneck with the spring clamp, and put the light on that, and the spring clamp gooseneck came with a swivel, and the light comes with a swivel. So between that, I've got like 19 degrees of freedom. It's really nice. So I'm curious to see what the battery comes down to at the end of this. So that's all we got left for soldering. Okay. I want to check something here because I felt something. Wanted to make sure that all the solder joints were good. When I grabbed this, I felt just a little bit of motion wiggle on this, but I think that because the 3 of these are tacked in kind of tight, that they're kind of rubbing up against each other. Might do a little bit of separation there. That feels much better. Oh, I'm not sure. I want to say it said 2200 milliamp hours when I looked at it, when I slapped it on the charger earlier. It's not super thick. It feels like it's a couple of 14500s in the case. So let's see. We have let's install T2, which is the IF transformer with the yellow cap. That's red. That's yellow. So we look where T2 goes. These have an asymmetrical pin layout, so they're easy to install without screwing up. And basically, this is a transformer. One side has a center tap, and then there's a little capacitor, tiny little capacitor inside there and that resonates the transformer, and that's why it's so good for radio circuits, because it'll only largely pass energy at one frequency. Yeah, it's definitely 1 cell thick. And these are big old devices. You want to make sure that the leads are slightly bent. We don't want this falling out. That feels pretty good. Oh, no. You need to take those mounting tabs, which are actually little tabs coming off of the case, and bend those down a little bit. That'll work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are standard camera batteries of some sort, and I definitely want to invest in some more if I'm going to buy into this light ecosystem, because it seems like a good idea. Solder up the actual terminals. Way tight in there. And then you do need to solder the 2 bits of the case here, because that provides shielding for that little resonant circuit inside the transformer. It's very important. Otherwise you'll have all kinds of weird signal leakage. Things won't run right. Floating grounds and RF noise all over the place. No bueno. You don't want that. Beautiful. Oops. Yeah, Sony cameras, that's right. I'm so excited. Okay. Our next transformer, T3 with a black cap. That's definitely red. So it's got to be this. This has to be T3. So this little fellow pops in right down here. I'm just blown away at how good this kit is. This is amazing. This is $30, and it's worth easily that much. They spent time on building this properly. I don't see any like cut corners. But I kind of expect that from Tecsun. I think that they're one of the top Chinese radio manufacturers out there these days, and there's a wide variety of quality control out there. Believe me. I know Cat 5 knows that. Bofang, and so on. Sneak in here. You're not playing nicely. I know why. It's because I did that greedy thing and I didn't clean my iron. I'm being impatient. We don't want to do that. Yeah, gross. Get off of there. As soon as we do that, 1 second, we're good. Awesome. You notice I only soldered one side of that transformer. The other one is actually perilously close to something that I think might be part of another circuit. Right there. So I'm gonna be careful with that. We still have one side soldered, which makes the electrical ground connection. So we're good. We're fine on that. All right, and then AM oscillator coil is T1 with the red cap. That looks like a red cap to me. So this one, if you notice, there is not a little capacitor in there. This is not a full IF transformer. This is just a coil. But it's meant to resonate in a certain frequency range when you have a certain capacitance value connected to it. So it's basically a mass-produced item that's made for making AM radios. You hook that up to a capacitor that goes from like 30 to 365 picofarads variable, and it will make the frequencies that you need in order to make an AM radio. Commodity item, I guess you'd call it. Get in there. You're cranky. There we go. All right. We are humming now. You can tell I'm getting excited. Tearing through these. Looks good. Looks real good. Alright. Not many parts left. Let's get the big mamma jamma in. This is the variable capacitor that works with that coil in order to make the frequencies that we need. I'm going to guess. Let's get into some hardware here. Let's see. Let's go through my parts here. Oh, the headphone jack. Hey, did we forget about some resistors? I think we did. So I don't think... Okay, see how this has like 15K and 120. Well, we have 120K. These are experimenting resistors. These are what you use if you want to mess with the circuit. They added extra parts if you want to go nuts DIYing stuff with this. So no, we did not screw up. I'm going to just look closely at the board here. Yeah, we're not missing any components. They just added a handful of extra resistors just to kind of help you hack along with things. If you want to mess with the circuit, if you want to change the bias on things. That's fascinating. That's really cool. They really know their market with that. I'm going to save those for sure. Then this, I was trying to figure this out. So it's just the case to one of those. And then I looked on the board at the layout, and I realized what this is for. This is just a shielding circuit. So that little part of the circuit there is shielded from outside influences. So we're definitely going to solder that up. Because A, I just respect their taste with that. It's really nice that they included that. And B, it may come in handy. It may be something that the circuit needs in order to like not oscillate or hear feedback, stuff like that. And just tack it down right there. Yeah, we got a little shield around that that mixer circuit, and that detector circuit. Very cool. More and more impressed with Tecsun as the build for this goes on. So I'm going to take our variable cap. This is a part that's big enough that we actually need to screw it in. So we take these little screws. I think they're the right ones. Nope. That's got to be it. That's it, right there. Awesome. Since that's the tuning knob, you want some good physical connection to the rest of the circuit, which is why they have screws going on there. Again, good component quality on this. They didn't cut a single corner. Big old terminals on this. One of the few parts of the build here that actually benefits from my big ugly chisel tip here. Beautiful. Very cool. This is probably the most intimidating part for me. Seriously. Gotta solder up that antenna. We'll do that very last. Here we have a nice high quality headphone jack. It's multi-pin so it can break the circuit to the speaker when you insert a headphone, which you want, of course. That's how radios switch from the internal speaker to a headphone or whatever. It's pretty much standard procedures to have one of those little jacks with a little switch. Just redirects the signal when it detects that there's a jack in there. Oops, I did that thing again where I let the solder cool and stuck the solder to the pad. So we have a jack. All right. What else do we do before that? I think that's it. Let's get over my fears and solder this antenna up. It's not that bad, really, because we do have the wire colors there. So let's start with the two easy ones. These are very, very fine wires. This is what's called Litz wire. You can look it up, L-I-T-Z. And it's used for antennas of this sort. because it has interesting electrical properties. It's actually a vast number of super fine, just hair thin wires that act a little bit differently than a solid wire. Got that one. But Litz wire is used in a lot of coils like this. At this point, we have to be very, very careful. We're gonna take our time here. We don't even need our meter right now. So that's in that top hole right there. This is definitely the hairiest part of the build here. Is just dealing with these super fine wires. But that's what brings in the magic of the radio signal. And those two are secure. Good. I'll sip my beer because it's a little stressy. And we have 4 wires coming off of this one that need to be put in their correct slots. That's black. It's going to be the black one. Let's do that one. That goes in that hole 2 right there. Get it lined up just right. Only the very end of that is tinned. The rest is insulated with varnish. I just got triggered from work there. For those that don't understand the joke, I work for a company that heavily uses a program named Varnish. Good. Green is next. It's really hard to see the colors on the camera, I know, but this is the green wire. It's going to go into hole number 6 there. It's really sketchy when you only have one wire connected. As you solder more and more of these on, the assembly gets a little bit stronger. You just kind of unpucker a little bit. So we're getting there. And then 2 red wires. This one is going to go to number 5. There's number 5. Get that thing in. Fold it over just a little bit. And we'll zip that thing on. Where'd it go? There it is. Cool. Scares me. And then number 1 is the last wire. Awesome. Let's get this thing going. Stressy. Okay, alright, we did that. So, the next step is I want to get the circuit, or not the circuit, I want to get the, let's see here. What I'm looking for is what screws I need to use to take the little antenna clip and mount it onto the board, because it obviously does have a couple of screw holes back here. I don't want to use the wrong screws. But I'm not sure if it really mentions here. Got the ones for the tuning knob. Oh. It's just 2 of these. Awesome. Cool. So, take this. Take one of these. And a brand new screwdriver. All the tools I've used tonight are brand new from Harbor Freight. I went shopping just because I love y'all so much. I wanted to have some sort of respectable build video here. They're not really good quality tools, but they'll do the job. Is that the right screw? Let's try one of the other ones. Yeah, I think it's one of these. Oh, that can't be right. Weak. I didn't break any of the wires, did I? No, we're good. Let's try to see. I should have put this on first. This requires considerable force to thread the stuff, because there's not really threads cut. You just kind of do the self-tapping thing. There we go. All 6 of those wires are still stable. Just take it. Snap it in. Whew. Okay. Well, that was the hairiest part of the build. All those tiny wires. And they're super fine. Like, they're seriously so delicate. You can just tell how freaking delicate they are. And beyond that, we have, let's see, the speaker wires. We're getting close to the end. Black for negative. Oops. These are kind of annoying because they very easily fall out. I'm just trying to tack them down. It's not like a 2-terminal device where you can, bend the leads and so on to make it stay in. Let's see. Okay. I'll put a little solder on the other one, just so it's there for when we need it. Okay. Black wire is solid. white wire is solid. Cool. We're getting there. Not much left. Where the heck does that battery solder up? Negative goes through here. Oh, sorry, camera. I know. And positive goes through here. Yeah, these actually go on the back side so that the battery can sit flush, I believe. I don't like that. It's got to be right. If this sits on there. Oh, this is amazing. I didn't even notice these. 2 tiny zip ties for cable management. Love it. Okay, so maybe, yeah, these do go through the holes here. That way the battery box can screw onto this. I think we're on track here. Yeah, that seems to be how it was designed. And then we're just gonna tin this up a little bit. There's a minus. Okay, so this is more of a surface mount thing. You just solder them like that. It's not actually going through the terminal here. Battery minus. Cool. So let's see. Oops. Let's see how that goes. Okay. So it goes in like that. Okay. We need to put volume knob on. I don't have a Discord yet. This is only the second session we've done. I do every 2 weeks. But if you follow my channel, I will post as soon as I have one spun up, because it's definitely on the list. Thanks for asking. This tiny little screw. Teeny tiny, teeny tiny. Power switch and volume knob is in. Sweet ass. All right, and then next up, we're gonna have a tuning knob. And what we want to do with this is what, find the bottom end of the range, and then you see how this has several ways that it can go in. This is an octagonal thing here. So this goes on there, on that slotted shaft. Oh yeah, 2 times a week, not every 2 weeks. Thank you. And then we gotta get one of our screws here. Which one of the screws is this? Definitely not that one. So it is that one. Oh, I see what it is. We're in kind of uncharted territory here because they just say test it and align it once you're done. So that screw is in there. Okay, super sweet. That just kind of sits on there. Alright. We got a couple little guys for the battery case. Let's see which ones they say. They spec out the screws in some pretty strange terms. 3mm by 5 times 2. Not missing screws on her. Mwaha. That's what it is. Tiny nuts. Insert joke here. Okay. Alright, and then these 2 wires, there are 2 holes to pass through here. These will go to our speaker. Getting excited. Okay. So this cover, something like that to hold the speaker in. And we have a couple of these little guys. There we go. And that holds the speaker in between the faceplate and the body of the radio. I just dropped a screw. Okay. Not gonna 100% this one, boys. I'm not gonna bother trying to find that. I know my shop better than that. Okay, so let's see. I think that just sticks on. We'll figure it out in a bit. This is gonna be interesting to solder here. Let's see. Maybe if I make a little hook on the end, I can get it to catch. Stay in there while I go for my iron. Nope. Okay. I'm gonna do it a different way. Some solder on the speaker terminals. Load them up, it's fine. Just kind of hot doggy here. You gonna reach? Yes. Number 2. Oh, that's so hot. Ah. Get it. Yeah. I think that's it. So this goes like this. Solder out of there. Make sure you don't have any wires pinched. Oh, the tuning knob. That sucks. Alright, let's get that tuning knob in there. Yep, good call. And yeah, that kind of indicates the tolerances on this. It's tight enough that really kind of screwed things up. This is not sloppily made. And that red one is being kind of goofy. There we go. Of course, it's engaged like 180 degrees from where I wanted it. Alright, this is trickier than I thought. Start over, breathe. Not going to gain anything by rushing it at this point. We want the 53 just past the top there. Alright, I'm doing this off cam. Sorry, you don't get the hot action. Sometimes you just gotta make gravity your best buddy. Boom, got it. All right. Cute, isn't it? And I do have a red wire there, but it's not pinching. It's just kind of there. They made the wires to the battery box a little bit longer than I would prefer, but that's okay. Hit the corner. I'm in love. Yeah, this doesn't have any screw holes, so I'm kind of curious how I'm supposed to lock that down. I wonder if they missed a spot of glue in the manufacturer. Ooh, I like that idea. Or had the LSD. So you'll realize it's done, right? We built it. We have to align it and kind of tweak some of those things in there, but it's done. I have a page on alignment here, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna beg y'all for yeah, I don't that is good call. That's a standoff? Okay, so it's not accessible through there. That's a standoff to screw the back plate on. So it like screws in like that, I believe. Yeah, it's gotta be. Oh wait, fuck, was I supposed to put that on before I screwed it in? Alright. So, I'm gonna beg y'all for 2 minutes because I gotta go smoke a damn cigarette because that was stressful and exciting. And yes, I love my suspension. I'm gonna be back in 2 minutes. Hang tight. We're gonna turn this thing on and see what the hell it does. I'll be right back. And we is back. All right. Thanks for bearing with me. So let's get to the alignment instructions. My little non-conductive screwdriver here. So let's do this, and haha, these are the double A's I have on here. I'm glad I have this the Streamlabs remote. Battery 1. Make sure it's off. Okay, no sound yet, but that's fine. Because we need to align this. So we need to start out with T3. I'm going to ballpark this on KOA. Let's see. I got it up to my ear real close so I can hear if there's anything. There's a little metal or ferrite slug in this that I'm turning. That changes the inductance. Also, a big disadvantage here is that I live in a Faraday cage. Like, everything is metal. My siding's metal. Window screens are metal. That may be the problem. I may need to just align this outside, which is kind of messed up. I did hear a pop out of the speaker when I turned it on, so at least the audio circuit is working. Various combos of those two things here. Let's see if I can get some sound out of it. I do hear a very faint hissing. So it's doing something RF wise. Yeah, I got that kit for $12 for 5. Following adjustment is better carried out in the evening when more radio stations are available. I love that. They're like, this may not work during the day. You need some loud shit. And those, yeah, AM radio is much better at night. Let's see here. barely hear a couple of stations in there. When I go through, they're just super weak. So yeah, I think we got owned by my dwelling here. It's currently 10 degrees out. Yeah, I'm in Colorado. I'm in Denver. It's 10 degrees out, and I'm not about to go outside in the dark and try to align this. So we have it built, and I'm actually at 3 hours here, and I'm getting kind of tired. So it's working. It just needs to be aligned. And actually, one of the gadgets I have back here is a signal generator. I haven't used it forever. No, I'm not transmitting any RF. I don't have any actual radios on right now. Just this thing. We're just listening. So yeah, I think I'm going to, first of all, I figured out how that standoff goes in, so I have to take the damn thing apart. This bit goes in that hole, and then this nut locks it down from the backside, and then this screw holds the back case on. So I've got to disassemble this thing anyways. So unfortunately, I know much to everybody's huge disappointment, we're not going to have a fully functioning radio tonight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my signal generator set up, which can generate AM radio signals, because we can't calibrate this inside the house, because I live in a tin can. Oh yeah, no, I'm. First of all, the only radio that I have that really does AM transmit is my 735 right there, and I don't have it wired up right now. That is a good idea though. So we did the build tonight. We're getting noise out. The signals are weak and shitty, but I am getting a signal here. So we're going to put this on the shelf until our Saturday session. And I'm going to set up my signal generator back there. And we are going to calibrate this thing. I'll get my oscilloscope so we can go for max voltages here and there and get this thing really peaked and tuned, as some of us like to call it. So yeah, it's not 100% success tonight, but we did build the radio, and I'm really excited about that. I'm confident that we set everything up right. We just need to basically dial it in. But in order to do that, I need to do a little bit more setup than I'm willing to mess with tonight. So there we are. I'm going to put all this stuff carefully on, and then that's right, it goes like that. And like, look at that little detail. There's a vent. That's actually a vent there. There's holes there to let the speaker sound out. So this is really meant to give like full good sound. So I'll have high hopes for this once we get it actually aligned on Saturday. And yeah, for now, we has a little tiny radio that weekly picks up signals, but it's not even enough to like pick up on a mic or anything. So we're gonna go for it next round. So yeah, we're at 3 hours. I am wiped. It was a long day. I did a lot of work, like actual like my job work. So yeah, it's been a long day, and it's very cold. And my cat is starting to get more and more pissy about not being fed. She's like an hour past her like evening can. But look at that thing. Isn't it cute? Isn't it great? So I'm saving most notably the Chinese emblem with the fucking rifle on it. and this will be our gun radio, and that will go on once we are confident that everything is set up and aligned and good to go, and we have a functioning radio. So that'll be the final step, the christening, as it were. Turn off the soldering iron, because I always forget to do that. One time I left it going for like 4 days. My stolen meter here. Thank you all so much for putting up with it. I know this is a lot less exciting than like, well, it's a different kind of exciting than like playing actually on functional radios. And I just like look at that and how much time that took, and then like figure how much time it takes to build something like that. Yeah, we're super laid back here. We get a little bit, more excited when there's like radios on the feed and stuff like that, and we actually are, talking and listening to people. But I enjoyed the first solder setup for sure. That was really fun, and I'm proud of myself for getting as much done as we did. And we're gonna shine this thing up, and we're gonna rock it next time. So yeah, please, if you're not following, please do so. We broadcast, gosh, what are we going to do? Saturdays at 3 Mountain, so that would be 10 p.m. UTC. And then we do Wednesdays at 7 p.m., which is 2 a.m. on Thursday UTC. So you can look up your time zone table and figure out wherever you are in the world. You can tune into the Mattyzcast. So yeah, Saturday we will align this thing up. Maybe listen to. Well, there's no sports going on, so we can't like tune in to KOA for any fun sports or anything like that. I'm also a little paranoid because if I broadcast music through it, it's like, oh shit, get my stream muted. But that's just the VODs, so no big deal. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it, feed my cat, and fall asleep. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Oh shit, I need batteries for my mouse. I do have a big box of AA's that I bought from Harbor Freight, obviously. I do a lot of shopping there. But I couldn't find them, so I was like, you know what? I got a mouse with 2 AA's. So everybody be good, and I'll see you Saturday. Make sure to follow so you get notifications when I go live. But again, 3 p.m. Saturdays, and then 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. That's Mountain Time here in the fine Rockies. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Have a great evening, everybody.